Podcast, the podcast where we get to meet the real person behind the professional. I'm delighted to be joined by Doug Dinwiddie today. Doug is owner of marketing agency Maitland, owner of Fairway, as well as being owner of Properties Unique. Doug, what was your nickname at school?
It was, for a very short time, it was Fat Ugly Mess, actually, was what it was for a little while, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Which is quite harsh.
I didn't even know it was that brutal.
Yeah, it's tough. But like, yeah, I mean, that was for a very, very, very short period of time. I actually had like loads and loads and loads of nicknames at school. But there's a Swedish saying that a love baby has many names, so like maybe go down that route with it sort of thing. But it was for a little while, yeah, Fat Ugly Mess for a little while, yeah. But I was like, you know, I was up until the age of about probably 12, 13, I was a very, very, very chubby kid, you know, so it was quite easy to go on that, but yeah, that was, yeah.
Bless you. So were you bullied at school?
Yeah, I was, yeah. But like, mostly from a very early age. I mean, my dad worked in oil, so we travelled around a lot. So I think, I can't really quite remember the numbers, so I'll make them up for the purpose of this story, you know, but I think I'd been to like 9 different schools by the time I was 9 or something.
Wow, that's a lot.
Most of those in a foreign country as well and whatever. So when we moved back to Scotland, which is where I was born, and just a school that we went to, which was like a rural school in the middle of nowhere, was just, bullying was a really, 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 like it was a big part of that school. There was kind of like a bad group of rotten eggs sort of thing. And it was just a really tough school for it, you know. So yeah, started at a really early age. And I was actually talking to someone the other day. I've now got a 2.5-year-old, as you know. And I was probably 4 or 5 when it started up in Scotland, 5 or 6 maybe. And I can't try to kind of explain it away almost. But then someone said to me, said, well, what would you do if Archie was getting bullied in a 1.5 years time? You know, like actually, that's a very, very, very young age for that sort of thing.
So young.
Yeah, but then it kind of continues on. But you wonder, like, if you ask that question to anybody, like how common an answer that would be. Or
That's a really good point. You know, I think, and there's an element, this will sound, I know there's varying scales of bullying, and I think my next question for you is going to be how bad did it get? But, you know, I think everyone experiences being picked on to some degree, and there's some element, I wish the world wasn't this way, that's part of growing up and developing resilience. But obviously there's extremes, and there's, you know, not even extremes, you know, once, I think the difference is when it's continuous, the chronic nature of it, and it really affects your self-esteem. Yeah,
I think there's a bit, I mean, like I have this memory of, like, the school was a dreadful school really in hindsight, but it was a really rural school, you know, like, I don't even, you know, I've not got to school age with my kid yet, so I need to refresh my memory about what school years were like. But there was one classroom and you were all just sitting in a different corner of the same classroom, all the different years sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very, very small, very small school. And I remember being bullied out in the playground sort of thing, going in to tell the teachers, and they're all sat in the staff room having a fag, as they would back in the day. And you told me to go and get on with it. Yeah. You know, never even came out, just, this is my break time, I won't come out, and, you know, whatever. So I think it's almost like the bullying's maybe bad, but then the lack of kind of like anyone actually being there to support you almost is probably the thing that leaves a worse scar almost. The fact that no one's actually looking after you, I think, maybe.
Yeah, and to answer one of your questions about wondering what school's like now, a few people have been on the podcast where they've talked about bullying experiences, and they're probably, you know, quite a lot younger than me. So I think it still does happen. And again, it was the same response. The teachers didn't really help. Yeah. I'm not saying that that's the case in every situation, but yeah, I hadn't thought of it like that. Almost the lack of response to it, which makes it even worse. Yeah. How did your parents react? Were they supportive?
No, not really. But I mean, and this is my version of the truth as well, do you know? So it's my memory of the whole thing. So you might have to ask my mum and dad. But
I'll get them on next.
Yeah. I don't remember much support. Really, I think I kind of remember my mum going around kind of having a word at one stage. I think I remember like my older brother not helping at all, and you kind of look to your older brother to like kind of look after you a little bit.
Yeah.
I actually had a conversation with my brother about this the night before my wedding, and I don't know how the conversation came up the night before the wedding or whatever, but the conversation came up, and he said to me, you know, you got to think he was a year older than me, so he was say 5 at the time. he was scared of the same people that were bullying me. He didn't really want to go and get involved with it either.
Interesting.
You start kind of framing it like that, that kind of makes sense for a 5-6-year-old to not really want to get involved.
True.
Whereas for me, I grew up just thinking, Rob wasn't going to look after me. But in actual fact, he was just as scared of the same people that I was getting bullied by. So it was he was trying to almost befriend them so that he didn't get bullied almost.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So it's a weird dynamic, that whole thing. When
Totally. And you never talked about it at the time with him? No. Yeah.
No, not really. No.
Yeah, I suppose it's not the sort of thing.
30, 40 years to get around to having the conversation by the looks of things.
Yeah, I know. And communication is so vital, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you just think, even today we were having a conversation in the office just about how people don't communicate properly. If they're choosing another agency over yours, they could just tell the truth rather than you seeing them in the newspapers. It's just, but still as humans, we struggle with communication at times.
Especially when it's negative news.
Yes, absolutely. We hate delivering that.
All the time. Yeah.
But again, it's kinder, isn't it?
It is,
to deliver it.
Yeah, it is.
So how bad did the bullying get?
Pretty bad. Physical, verbal, all the normal stuff. And then it kind of carried on, as you get kind of later in school years as well. But then I bet you there's some people that when they think of me, they probably say that I was kind of like a bit of a bully to them at times because you react in the way that you've been reacting.
Yeah, I do understand that. Mm-hmm.
So it's hard, but I think the difference for me is when I got to about 13, I shot up and became way bigger than everybody else in the school, let alone in my year, pretty much, So all of a sudden people stopped bullying me then.
Yeah.
So that made life a little bit easier, I think. But in the early days, I remember we moved so much, I was used to moving house or whatever, but then when we moved to the northeast when I was 8 or 9 maybe or something like that, I remember being quite happy that the for sale sign went outside the front of the house. I didn't want to leave where we lived, but I was so happy to be leaving that school and going to start somewhere else, I remember being really happy about it,
And I guess it wasn't just your physical appearance, it was the fact that you were the new kid all the time.
And spoke differently.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Didn't have a Scottish accent.
Of course.
I don't even think I had an English accent at the time. I can't even remember. I actually spoke Dutch, as fluent as a 4 or 5-year-old would speak anything. I spoke Dutch.
Oh, wow.
But I wouldn't have a clue how to even start now, nothing at all.
Such a shame you can't remember it.
Went to school in Holland from the age of I don't know, I suppose you start school at 3, don't you? Sounds about right.
4.
So 3, 4.
3 in nursery, yeah.
3, 4, 5. So I spoke Dutch at school and got Dutch speaking classes and all that kind of stuff, and didn't have a clue what was going on, even out there or whatever. So it was tough. Yeah.
Wow, that is really tough. Yeah. But do you think it's shaped who you are now?
I think there's a certain element of the fact that I feel comfortable talking to strangers more than most people that I meet.
Yeah.
I can pretty much hold a conversation with anybody at
Absolutely,
any stage,
I agree.
And I think a lot of that is having to go and try and start those conversations when you were a kid and not even speak the same language and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, that must have been so hard.
Yeah, but at the end, all these things that are tough end up being really good things when you come out the other end of it all. Not always, but a lot of the time they do, yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I remember the first time I met you, and I think you mentioned, was it your height that was so memorable?
Yeah.
And it wasn't, obviously it was noticed, but it was the fact that you were so warm and put me totally at ease just having a chat with you at a networking event.
Yeah.
And clearly that skill's developed from what you've been through.
I think so, and I think there's an element of you have this I've always struggled with anxiety, which I'm sure we'll get onto later and things, and you kind of learn coping mechanisms, and social situations are anxious situations to be in, so if you've learned all those mechanisms, all of a sudden you're I've got a tool to deal with social anxiety, so you can kind of get by with it. So I think all those sort of bits help as well.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that horrific nickname, Fat Ugly Mess. You're so far from that now. Has that always been a motivation to not be that? And I'm sure you never were that in the first place.
I was definitely a podgy kid. I mean, I remember, I don't know if my wife will like me saying this, but she found a picture of me from that kind of era, and she put it next to Bruce Bogtrotter from whatever, and did a for like. She did it with my mum there, and I don't think my mum liked it very much either, to be honest with you. But no, I really was. I was a really podgy little kid with long hair. This was middle of the 90s or whatever, and everyone had undercuts and long hair, and whatever.
Yeah,
it wasn't
an attractive era, was it?
It wasn't a good time. No, it wasn't
for anyone,
especially not for a podgy kid sort of thing. But then, so I can kind of see where that kind of came from almost. and kids are brutal, and I'm sure they're no less brutal today than they were back then.
Yeah, my kids are brutal to me. I think my eldest told me I had a beard was one of her first sentences that she spoke, and I got rid of it.
But no, I was fortunate enough that, you know, when I hit my teenage years, all of a sudden I got really long and skinny, like really quickly. But I actually didn't even realise that I'd changed at that time.
Yeah,
I didn't even notice.
Just the bullying just faded away.
I didn't even notice that, really. I don't think, but I don't know. I literally left school, you know, whatever you call it, summer term, 1 year, and then came back in the autumn term the next year, and I was like 1.5 foot taller or whatever, and you know, and it was just weird. Didn't even see it happen almost. So it's a weird thing. Yeah.
It's sometimes like, and this might be a crude analogy, but whenever I've got a really sore throat, I always notice obviously the sore throat, but as soon as it's better, I forget that I even had it.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
So
it's like that same thing. It's like you don't notice your knee unless it's actually hurting. You know, unless it's a problem. You just
you take it for granted.
And all we do is focus on the bad because that's the thing that, you know, like
rescues
hurts,
us.
The knee hurts, so I'm going to think about that or whatever.
Yeah, and we need to sort it out. So has it left any lasting scars, the bullying? Yeah,
I think so. Like, I would say so. It's not something I like dwell on like on a day-to-day basis or anything, you know. But like, I definitely do, you know, like I'll always, you know, if get home from an event with my wife or whatever, I'll always be like, oh, you know, did I say the wrong thing there or did I say the right thing there? Or, and I'm always worrying about things like that. I wonder where that's come from, do you know? 'Cause I always do overthink things like that the whole time, do you know? Like I'm always kind of like post-analysing stuff, but it's probably a bit of ADD or something like that as well, do you know? So it's a tough thing. But I don't struggle in social situations, and I'm not like really worried, and I don't get bullied anymore, so it's not really something I have to worry about too much, you know?
Yeah. I don't know anyone who would dare bully you. Apart from your wife, obviously, with the photos.
Yeah. That's kind of allowed, though, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's one person. Absolutely.
Yeah.
How else has school shaped you into who you are today?
Well, I was a very naughty boy at school. Very naughty boy at school. I can actually remember, like, I started smoking at an early age. Stole a cigarette off my dad and went down the forest and whatever, you know, and started really early. And I think I can actually even almost remember being at school, like my goal was pretty much to be the naughtiest boy in school. That was my aim, which I'm fairly sure I achieved for a few years as well. You know.
Congratulations.
Thanks, yeah.
It's on the CV.
Goals. Yeah. So I was a really naughty boy at school and then ended up being asked to leave. But I was kind of leaving anyway, and at the time I wasn't really bothered. But I look back now and I really wish I'd finished school. You know, I was fortunate enough to go to Barney School and didn't do sixth form there. And when I think back now, it'd be really nice to have like finished your time there and finished sixth form or whatever. And there's definitely a little bit of me now where, you know, there is a little bit of like, you know, you still got this mentality of the fact that you're a naughty kid and you got kicked out of school or whatever. There's a little bit element of you like proving that you're not a complete wrong sort of thing, you know? And there's a little bit of that in me, I think, still. But I mean, as a school, Barney School it was fantastic. I was always very sporty. So I think that got me away with a lot of stuff that otherwise I wouldn't have gotten away with.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately, like, it would have been nice to finish school there. And I ended up getting into university anyway and all that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Did all that sort of thing anyway, you know.
Brilliant.
It was a good few years, but definitely left a bit of motivation.
It is funny because a lot of the people I speak to on this podcast, and also some of the most successful people I know, they were either expelled or suspended or they were a little bit troublesome at school.
Yeah, well, my mum came, it was around Christmas sort of time, my mum came down, she'd been clearing out her attic and she found all my old school reports and she's like, so I've actually got them at home and I was kind of sat reading through them one night or whatever. And I'm like, this kid's definitely got ADHD. Like, it was all like, if Doug could focus for more than 3 minutes at a time, he'd actually be all right at this, you know? And that was like the same from every teacher. And then there would be moments where it'd be like, there'd be a term where like, Doug's been fantastic this term, like what an actual turn up from the books. And then the next term it would be like, he's back to like not paying, you know.
Yeah, but ADHD is erratic, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And I would have thought, you know, nowadays you probably would have been. I was diagnosed with dyslexia at like a really early age. And those two things often go hand in hand as well, you know. So then sitting in a classroom for 45 minutes, 50 minutes at a time, listening to a teacher kind of monologuing at the front of the class for an hour, it's not really going to sit well on you if you're like want to go and do things and be busy and whatever.
Totally relate. Yeah.
And I bet you a lot of those people that, you know, I know that dyslexia is a really common thing out of people that run businesses or started businesses. It's a really common thing. And I bet you that goes hand in hand with a lot of ADD or ADHD as well, you know. So I'm not surprised that there's quite a common thread that people don't do well in school when you kind of want to be outside doing whatever all the time. You know?
I know. And I just wonder if lessons were, and obviously it's a really tough job. They've got to try to shape it around so many different people with so many different needs. But, you know, if they were a little bit more punchy, almost like TED Talk style, what that could do for so many people.
Yeah.
But, you know, they have a tough ask.
Yeah, and like the key is education, not qualification, right? But for most schools, qualification's the thing that really matters a lot of the time. Do you know, like because they need to make sure they get the grades, because they need to, you know, they've got to get scored on something at the same time. So it ends up being like, do enough people get A's? But
totally,
a lot of the time, the education part of it kind of falls down. And I think there was a bit for me where at school, I actually didn't realise that, you know, education didn't finish when you left school. Like, you know, it took me to my like mid-20s, you know, like left university or whatever, and I was like, actually, you can still go and learn all this other stuff. And so it was TED Talks and YouTube videos, and books and audibles and podcasts whatever. You know, like that's where your education comes from now.
I know, and I just wish that they taught some of the things you learn almost after school in school.
100%.
Is there any particular skills you wish were taught in schools currently?
I mean, the easy one to say is money. I find it really fascinating that, you know, you're not taught anything about how to manage money or how to look after money, or you know, like, or money's even a taboo subject, like at all.
Yeah,
it wasn't
absolutely.
my household growing up. Like,
Same.
You know, we never spoke about money. But I bet you the really affluent families do speak about money all the time.
You think so?
Know? Yeah, like the Gucci's of this world and all the rest of it. You know, like this kind of like generational wealth will be spoken about the whole time. Do you know, because they're kind of breeding the next generation, but yet other people don't. So I think money's one, but I was actually, you know, even though I was kicked out of Barney School, I was actually asked to go back and speak to the sixth form at Barney School. And I went back, and one of the questions I asked, because, you know, I was asked to come back and speak, and I decided the subject in the end, and I made it money. And one of the first questions I asked is like, what is money to the students? Which I find is a really interesting question.
Yeah.
And you can learn so much about someone with their answer to that question.
Love that.
Like you can, it's fascinating. But there is a kind of textbook answer to it.
Yeah, what's your answer then?
So it's a way of storing value. Like, so if you want more money from the world, you provide more value to the world, and the way you receive the value back is generally in money. But there's other things as well. There's
it's
kindness,
so skewed though, isn't it?
And trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you manage it through fair exchange, you know, that's the other bit. You know. And, you know, the good thing about money is it's liquid and easily transferable, so it's good to exchange for goods and services, whereas like gold isn't, or whatever, you know, so there's a whole bit in it. But one of the kids in there actually came out with that answer, which is the first time I've ever heard anyone come out with that actual kind of textbook answer for it before. And that was fascinating. So he's picked that up from somewhere, do you know? So maybe things are changing. Maybe things are changing.
Yeah.
But money would definitely be one of them. Cooking maybe as well. I never did cooking.
Absolutely, nutrition, like the value of health, wellness. You know, there's so much. Even
or meditation or anything. Do you know, like
dealing with anxiety, mental health problems, and I think they're getting better at that. But there's still so much.
Just in general, you know, like realizing that maybe the world isn't quite as like chaotic as your brain thinks it is a lot of the time.
Definitely. And we all as humans experience grief at some time in our life, yet there's so much kind of unsaid about that, and not just how to support yourself through that, but how to support your friends and family through that. I think that would be a good topic, which maybe they are covered.
Maybe.
And while we're on the topic of mental health, you've already alluded to the fact you've had anxiety problems. Did they all start in school?
Yeah, I think if you actually trace it all the way back, I think it was always there from that early stage bullying almost, you know. I think I kind of detached myself a little bit from my family a little bit then, and I was definitely struggling a bit, but it really became apparent to me when I was like 15, 16, 17, and I probably had about 4 or 5 years there. There was a good 18 months there where I actually couldn't leave the house. My anxiety was so bad. Which seems ridiculous to think now, do you know, that I was
but I get it. So agoraphobia, is it?
Pretty much, like I was just so worried about everything for whatever reason. And I struggled with that from the age of about 16 to the age of 21, when I managed to kind of like, I still don't know if I'm fully over it all the time. Do you know, like it's
totally,
it still sits there in the back of your head. I think you just learn to see the voice a little bit and maybe not listen to it all the time. Do you know? And
I do know. And thinking about my timeline, it was around a similar age. And yeah, you go through certain experiences that kind of bring it all to the surface again, or when I'm more tired or kind of stressed at work, they always rise up.
I mean, like, or you go on you go on a stag do weekend, you can pretty much guarantee the next 3 days are going to be not a good place to be.
Oh, you know? Absolutely,
which is pretty much the same for most. But yeah, it was. I mean, that was a really tough time. Like really, really tough time. That was like leaving Barney, going to QE. Not really going to QE, but I was registered at QE, but I never
went.
Not really, to be honest with you, you know. And, you know, that sort of time, that was a really, really tough thing with it. But when I look back at it now, I just feel like it's actually a bit more sad that, like, there's some really good years. Do you know, like, your late teens, some of your best years. And I kind of missed a lot, not all of it, but a lot of it, you know. And that's the kind of bit that I feel sad about now. Not that I had struggled with depression, anxiety. It's just, it's like, they would have been really cool years if I hadn't. You know?
No, totally. There's that double, almost that, I can't remember what it's called, double paradox of things where almost you get kind of anxious or depressed, but then you then are anxious and depressed because you were that, and it's like such a waste of your life. And it's interesting. Or you're anxious about something, and then you're anxious because you're anxious, knowing that the harm the anxiety will be doing.
But on the flip side of that, though, there is this bit where I'm kind of glad that I dealt with that stage of my life, because I don't know, you kind of come out the other side of it a bit stronger. You come out of it with some techniques on how to deal with it, whether they're not they're healthy techniques or not, you know. Yes. But like, you come out with something.
Definitely, I totally agree. And through going through what my mental health struggles at a young age, I found that I could cope a lot easier when things did happen when I was older.
And like, I mean, running a business is like anxiety inducing, as you well know, you know. And there's been many sleepless nights thinking about numerous different things and whatever, but never the anxiety that I felt in my late teens.
Yes, it's so true.
It's just not,
so true.
It's not the same level, so you just get tough.
Yeah, it was almost just like panic attack inducing in the teens. And I do wonder how that mix of hormones that are surging into your body affect things. That can't be good.
Huge. I mean, if you asked me to go back and live those teenage years again, regardless of depression, anxiety, I don't think I'd want to go back there. You know, like, that is a tough gig almost, you know, like, there's a lot of stuff you don't know about the world. You're trying to figure it all out. You're making half the stuff up in your own head, chuck a load of hormones on top of it, make it 10 times worse.
Yeah. No, it's a tough time. I don't think teenagers get enough kind of respect for that.
100%.
Yeah. At your worst, how bad were your mental health symptoms?
About as bad as one could imagine that it was going to get. Do you know, like, you know, like, it was really, really bad. I mean, I mean, I remember making a comment to my mum saying something like I was learning how to drive, and I remember saying, like, I don't think anyone's going to give me a driving license, like, with the way that I am at the moment, you know, like, you know, and it was that sort of level, do you know?
Yeah.
Like, and my mum came back and said, well, if you can pass a bloody test, Doug, you can pass a test, you know, like, regardless of how much you're struggling, like, it's still a driving test to pass, you know?
Yeah,
like, all right, fair enough. And I actually did end up going and passing it pretty quickly as well, do you know? But that was the kind of level of thought that you're at. You were thinking, like, you're actually in a situation here where you wouldn't even be able to do, like, normal stuff. And, like, not being able to leave the house.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, ridiculous, really.
Well, I don't know. It is just so debilitating. Your mind in a kind of a happy state struggles to comprehend how it is in a depressive state. You know, I think that's the thing sometimes when you're out of it, you're just like, no, I don't need any help. I don't need to talk to anyone because I'm fine now. And then when you're in that state, you don't want to talk to anyone anyway, and you close yourself off. But I do think the world's getting a bit more equipped for dealing with that.
I think so. I think you can have the conversations more. I think, like, you know, not to sound sexist at all, but like, as a bloke, and I can only speak from being a bloke, you know, but like, I feel like most blokes will have more conversations these days now than they used to. You know? As you know, I'm a bit of a golfer. Like, the amount of times you end up, like, having a proper heart-to-heart on a golf course with another bloke, like, it's ridiculous.
I love that.
It's loads of times, you know, like, and I wonder if that's always happened or whether that's a more modern thing or whatever, but people do get, you know, into some stuff on when you spend 4 hours walking around the field with someone.
Yeah.
Whatever, you know, like, so I think we are better. But then at the same time, like if there was something that was really bothering you, like, are you actually going to speak about that one thing that's really bothering you? I don't know. Like if it's a really thing that you're really quite ashamed of, like then are you actually going to, do you know?
I do know. And I think we're both quite open people, and I think that enables other people to open up as well when you speak openly. And I think perhaps it's not the same for everyone. If someone's quite shut down and closed, people might not feel comfortable opening up to them.
Yeah, true.
It is interesting. So what got you through all the hard times?
I mean, when I was actually in it, I mean, I remember, I don't know, I just remember this moment of like getting so bored of it, so bored of all the negative thoughts, you know, like or whatever. I remember having this, I can't remember what they were, but I had like these 3 positive thoughts. And I remember kind of saying, right, every time I catch myself having a negative thought, I'm just going to switch it for a positive one. I don't know if I got that from somewhere or if I just thought of it or whatever.
Good idea.
And that was honestly a bit of a turning point for me, where all of a sudden I started kind of climbing back out of that kind of vicious cycle almost. And then in that process, I actually learned how to be a sailing and windsurf instructor. And I ended up going to the south of France when I was 20. I turned 21 when I was out there. And I went out. I'd actually gained a load of weight, you know, through that depression, anxiety as well. And I went out there kind of quite a big guy, about 20 odd stone, I think, and spent a summer in the south of France teaching windsurfing and sailing, and came back like stick thin, long blonde hair, tanned, like a completely different human being, you know. And also my mindset had changed. And I think there's a load in that. There's getting yourself out of your environment, bit of sunshine, some good weather, being active like every single day, do you know, like actually just getting out and getting on with things. You know, there's a lot of like, I was living in a tent essentially. It was a nice tent, but you were living in a tent in a forest in the south of France with other people, so you're around people, you know, so you're facing a lot of stuff. And then I think all of a sudden I came back. What was nice about that moment in time is I kind of came back from France, and it was like a real, particularly for everyone at home, it was a real like, Doug went away, like that came back like this. And there was like a pivotal moment, like a bit of a contrasting moment almost. And that for me, I then, you know, I managed to get into university a little bit later, 21, and that was kind of for me now looking back at it, it wasn't at the time, I don't think. That was almost at the end of that period almost for me. Not that the depression, anxiety disappeared, but it was definitely more manageable after that, I think.
Yeah, brilliant. And you mentioned almost having that awareness to catch the thoughts as well.
Yeah.
Did that develop while you were out there?
No, I don't really know about that. But then, you know, like I said, the depression, anxiety is probably never really left, and I read a lot now and whatever, and I think we've had conversations like love the whole Eckhart Tolle Power of Now stuff and the rest of that, and then you listen to the Power of Now, or you read the Power of Now, and you think back, and actually it's very like, that's actually what I didn't know what I was doing, but that was kind of similar.
Your way of going through.
So I'm very conscious of all that kind of stuff now, do you know, like I try to be present and all that kind of stuff. I'm good at it some days and not so good at it other days, you know.
Totally.
Or months and years possibly I'm good at it sometimes and not. But like, so I'm better at managing things like that now and not letting my thoughts run away.
Yeah, well, that's important, especially running a business. Yeah. We've touched on that already, but just how tough is that from a mental perspective?
Oh, brutal. I mean, like, because like it's all right when business is going good, right? You know, like if you know you're generating cash every month and everyone seems to be happy and everyone feels like they're on their own path. When I say everyone, I mean the team. You know, like and the books are balancing and the work's flowing in and all the rest of it. But when it's not like that, it's genuinely the hardest thing. It's genuinely the hardest thing. And, you know, COVID for me COVID wasn't so bad. It was coming out the back of COVID.
Yeah.
You know, the service accommodation business, we had holiday lets and things, and I had holiday lets at the time and all the rest of it. And, you know, they kind of were okay during COVID, then weren't. And then everyone started traveling again and then became really bad. And so that was a really, really tough time.
Yes.
And the toughest part of that is if times are tough, the last thing you can do is let onto your whole team that times are tough either. So that is something that you do just have to manage yourself, you know. So it's hard. And, you know, you run an agency as well. The tough thing with an agency is even if it's run well, you know, you never really know what the future looks like. I had a conversation with a guy who ran an agency in the 80s and 90s, London-based agency, really good guy. And he worked for agencies before and set up on his own. And just after he set up on his own, someone asked him, "Oh, how's business?" And he said, "Oh, good, but the next 3 months are critical." And then 10 years later, he was like looking to exit his agency, and someone asked him, "How's business?" And he said, "Oh, good, but the next 3 months are critical." And he realised that for 10 years he'd been repeating the same 10 years, you know, like,
yes.
and it's so true.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
So true.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, no matter how well you set up your business, no matter how much value you provide the world, no matter how much, you know, you're, you know, partners in outcomes and you're really trying to do great stuff, like, things can be good, but the next 3 months are genuinely critical, you know.
Always.
And that's not just agencies, by the way.
No.
You know, like,
no.
It's really not. It's every business.
And I do think we're in times that are just more uncertain than ever.
Yeah. It's a tough one for me, that, because I don't know what it was like 30 years ago.
That's probably what I always say.
I don't. It does feel ridiculous.
It does feel like that.
It does feel really, and I have conversations with friends that own businesses, and they are always like, how like, time's tough for you too, sort of thing, you know? And, you know, what's coming in the autumn budget and things like that, like, it's possibly not going to get much better.
I know.
So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
But, like, I feel like as long as you're providing value, more value than you're asking back in monetary terms, and you're managing it through fair exchange, and you just keep doing that and keep doing that and keep doing that, regardless of how bad the environment is. As long as you're providing more value than you're asking for in money, you can't really go too far wrong with that over a long.
It's a really good point, but I think also you have to have that joy in what you do, even if you're doing that, because like you say, the tough times are incredibly tough, but those highs almost make it all worthwhile when you reach them.
yeah, they do. And there's also an element of like real pleasure that you get out of managing the tough times.
Yes.
Like there's sometimes, like, you know, it's like actually getting out the tough times is actually, it's more pleasurable than the success of the top of a mountain, like getting out the valley. Like there's a little bit of like, I don't know, like you've managed to get through it. You've got the scar tissue. You've learned a ton, because you never learn anything when you succeed either. You only learn when you don't.
Yeah.
So like all of a sudden you come out the other side and you're like, I know so much stuff now that I would never have known if it not have been for all that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So when you're going through it, it's never nice, but if you almost ask anyone who's been in business, have you ever had a couple of tough years? If they say no, I just genuinely don't believe them.
Goodness, I know. They're either very, very lucky or liars.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So it's all part of the course, but it is tough. But when you deal with anxiety and depression when you're younger, it's tough, but you've kind of got all these different things that you've got to manage it as well.
Stories are at the heart of the Personal Podcast, and we're so grateful for everyone who comes on and shares them. Stories are also at the heart of a strong PR campaign. And at Harvey and Hugo, we believe that everyone's story deserves a chance to be heard. That's why we're on a mission to give you a voice amplified through the power of story. Our stories are shared in the form of press releases, social media, content marketing, videography, photography, animation, graphic design, and podcasting. Our stories aren't just heard, they're shared, watched, clicked, but most importantly, they are felt. It's this stirring of emotions that cuts through the noise to light fires within people and activate them towards your purpose. So one question for you. Are you ready to share your story? Harvey and Hugo, your voice amplified.
Definitely. And there's a theme almost emerging that, you know, you become your best version of yourself by getting through these tough times, even though they're horrid at the time. And like you say, not all situations are like that. But so let's talk about golf. Let's change the subject. You travelled the world as a golf caddie.
I did,
It just sounds amazing. Was it a dream job?
Parts of it, yes. I mean, the travelling the world and stuff. So I started caddying when I left uni. I was fortunate. My brother's a professional golfer. So I fell into it out of university. And he actually sacked me after a year and a half, which he needed to. I was a rubbish caddy as well, to be honest with you.
Were you still being naughty?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah, a little bit. But I just wasn't, I hadn't grown up yet. I know it sounds ridiculous at 26 years old, but in reality,
I understand.
You know, like I was still a kid. And, you know, I was okay at caddying. You know, like I wasn't a horrendous caddy, but I wasn't a good caddy. And, you know, so that started a pattern forming. And I got sacked quite a lot on caddying, but that, pardon the pun, is kind of par for the course, you know, like you're one of the first people to go if the results aren't coming.
Okay.
Like, you pretty much know there's
scapegoat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had some really good relationships that were, you know, 3 years long, 2.5, 3 years long. So it was a good time. And when you're in your mid-20s and you've got no responsibility and whatever, and, you know, it's great. You know, you get to travel around the world. But as a gig, it's hard. You know, I learnt my trade on the European tour as well, which is probably not really where you want to learn, because you get a reputation for making a mistake.
Okay.
On the big stage that you would have been making on a smaller stage had you not, you know, and all the rest of that stuff. So that was quite hard. But I just kind of looked at it one day and I did the maths on it, and I was like, there's probably 600 professional golfers on the planet that make a living out of playing golf. And if you're earning 10% of what the player earns, that means there's probably 60 caddying jobs on the entire planet. There's maybe a bit more now with a few other tours, but call it 100 caddying jobs on the entire planet where you're actually going to make a living out of the gig. Like, you were hand to mouth the whole time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was tough. It was only towards the end of my caddying career, which happened to be when Maitland started taking off and was putting food on the table, and I didn't have to work 2 jobs basically, or 3, or probably more like 7 jobs really at the time. When I started earning really good money, you know, like it was the last 2-3 years of caddying where I actually made decent cash. The rest of the time I had a job in a pub pulling pints when I came home.
Okay.
And stuff, you know, it was tough. Tough. Good, like jet set and all the rest of it. But
good experience, seeing the world.
Yeah. And if you made it into those top echelons and caddied for Tiger or Rory or something, and, you know, then it would have been fine. But I don't think Rory's got my telephone number. So.
Well, he might listen to the podcast. We could always read it out.
I'll send it to him.
Okay, brilliant. And you Googled something towards the end of your career as a caddy that kind of changed your trajectory. I
did, yeah. I mean, I realised I didn't want to be a caddy, and I was in a hotel in Germany on a Saturday, having missed a cut, couldn't afford a flight home, so I just had to sit around to my flight on the Sunday night because couldn't afford to change my flight, sort of thing.
Right.
And I was just sick of it, and I Googled how to be successful, which sounds ridiculous now, but like, it was literally, that's pretty much what I Googled, and it came up with a blog post of the top 10 things all successful people did, and the first one was read. And my thought was, well, I'm not illiterate, you know, like I can read. So that was it. So at the age of about 26, I just started reading, and I mean just started reading and reading and reading and reading, and I read everything from personal development, business, finance, like everything I could possibly get my hands on. And it was Audible, and it was books, and it was whatever for like, and I still haven't really stopped now. I have a little bit in the last few years. I've been really brutal, but trying to get back into the habit.
Having a child, isn't it?
Yeah, having a kid doesn't help. Yeah. But so I just started reading, and that was kind of really the pivotal point for me. Really, is like you read a lot of stuff and change the map of the world in your own brain a little bit, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, actually you could go and make that play over there, and go and make that play over there, and you start seeing opportunities that you didn't see before, almost, you know, from all that. But yeah, so all from a Google search really, which is pretty cool.
I love that though. And some of the books that you read, again, going back to our original conversation about school, they should definitely be on the national curriculum.
100%, yeah. Would kids read them though? I don't really know, do you know? But I'd love it if they would. There's some in there that you like, just everyone should read that. You know?
Absolutely. And is being successful important to you?
Yeah, it is. I mean, like, you know, I've got a picture of what I want my life to be like. You know, like I had a picture of what I wanted my life to be like 10 years ago, which actually, if 10 years ago, Doug today, probably be fairly happy with.
Good.
Like to think. But today, Doug's wants, you know, further forward. But yeah, like financial freedom, and like building a financial wall, and like generational wealth and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, like that's definitely all there. But there's also an element of like, I don't know what I would do if I wasn't trying to do, you know, like I feel like life would be a bit
striving
boring.
for it constantly.
Like, if I just feel like I'd just completed life now, I don't know, I'd feel like that wouldn't be as fun. Like, you almost need the turmoil and the, you know, you need to solve that problem tomorrow. And
I think so long as you appreciate that in the moment, you know, that is the way you are, and not constantly chasing things to be disappointed.
I think, there is, and that's something that I remember doing an exercise once. I went to like this business retreat thing, and there was a chap came along and spoke, and I don't know how we got on the subject in the room, but we started talking about motivational factors. And he's like, okay, well, how about you all just start shouting out some motivational factors? And he had a whiteboard and a pen. And he was writing some on the bottom of the board and some in the middle of the board and some on the top of the board. And all of mine were going on the bottom of the board. And I was like, I think I can get something on the top of the board here, do you know? And as he carried on writing these things out, you realise that the bottom of the board was the stick. It was a wolf at the door.
Okay,
and the top of the board was a carrot or the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And the middle of the board was enjoying the journey, do you know?
Oh, okay.
And I was actually really conscious that a lot of mine were on the bottom of the board. I was very much a stick kind of motivated person. You know? So I've tried hard to try and change that, you know. Like, you know, maybe it comes from the bullying stuff when you were a kid and trying to prove people wrong and all that kind of stuff. You know, there's a bit of stuff in there. But actually trying to have, like this, the carrot's also not very good for you either, do you know, because you never get there.
True. I think a lot of us as humans are motivated away from something rather than motivated towards.
Yeah.
And just the dynamic and sitting and thinking about that's always interesting, isn't it?
Well, the trouble is if it's a wolf at the door that is motivating you, you'll be motivated while the wolf's there, but then you'll get away from the wolf and then the wolf's not there anymore, so you're not as motivated.
Absolutely.
So you'll just regress back to where the wolf is again. So you never really get away from the wolf, so you need to, the process is obviously the best place.
Absolutely.
Like enjoying your day to day is like, that's the best place to be.
Yeah.
You're in it then, aren't you? You're not chasing something or running away, you're just enjoying what you're doing. So.
I'm getting better at that, but it's been hard to embrace that journey, especially when I'm not anymore, but I definitely used to be a perfectionist, but it always led to disappointment.
Yeah.
So just that reframing of your mind, nothing's changed, but just reframed how you look at it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And what is your definition of successful?
That changes all the time. Like, you know, a father of a young son with another one on the way at the moment, you know, like your world changes a little bit, and what social media spits out at you changes a little bit. And I caught something the other day, which like success is that your kids still want to hang out with you when they're older.
Oh, that's
which I think is lovely. Like that for me is just, you know, that's it. Like when they're 35, they still want to go play golf with dad or whatever, you know, like that for me would be, that would be it. And like above everything else, that's it. But then the interesting thing about that is like, what's the type of person that your 35-year-old son's going to want to hang out with his whatever I'll be, 75-year-old dad or whatever I'll be at the time, you know? Well, like he'll still be fun. Won't be stressed. He'll have everything. You know, there's a lot of things that go into being the person that he still wants to hang out with.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, like financial freedom. Like I've got this thing about generational wealth. Like I would love to be the one in my family that actually sets up the next 6-7 generations.
Oh, wow.
Like I feel like that would be a cool thing to be able to like hang your hat on almost to say that, like it was there, do you know, like or whatever.
Yeah, totally. But do you not sometimes think that in doing that you could ruin someone else's journey to creating it?
Like the struggles and all the rest of it. Yeah, I get that.
Because I don't know, because I was privately educated as well, and sometimes I feel that, and obviously I'm incredibly grateful and sometimes a bit embarrassed about it. Incredibly grateful, and it didn't come easy. You know, you see all the hard work your parents put into that to get you there, but it's almost like I feel that I'm not judged on an even playing field with anyone else. It's like, oh, but you were expected to kind of achieve because you went there. And it's just like, no, give me some credit. So, you know, I would have done this anyway, but maybe I wouldn't, you know? So
yeah, it's tough. I mean, I've got a good friend of mine, 7th generation in his family business.
Right, okay.
And it is not easy. Like he does not, like he's got different problems, like they're different struggles and it's, you know, like
pressure.
And like living up to things.
Yes.
Trying to change the way the business runs because it needs to change, but then that's what we've done for 210 years or whatever, do you know, like, so it's still not an easy thing.
Totally.
It's just a different struggle.
Yeah, know? And imagine if you were the one that let go of all the generational wealth.
Oh yeah, which would be awful. And I can see in this friend of, you know, he feels that pressure.
That pressure.
Yeah, he very much feels that pressure. You know?
Yeah, definitely. And I feel that in society, and maybe it's right, that because you've come from a wealthy background, none of your problems are valid from society, you know, and I don't think that's fair, you know, either. So that, like you say, everyone faces their own challenges.
Yeah, but it's all relative though, isn't it? Do you know, it is. And like, because you could actually say in this entire country we are exceptionally fortunate.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
Like, we're exceptionally fortunate in the West, you know, like if you're able to read and write, you're just exceptionally fortunate, you know, like, so it's how far down does that go? Because it's all relative. But like, there's that thing around like not all things that are hard are worth it, but like everything that's worth it is hard. You know, like it is going to be a struggle, and you need to go through some times. And I think that's the kind of big bit.
Totally. Even just the perceptions around your golf caddying career. You know, it looks like the dream because you're traveling the world. Obviously, that is the good part. But then you were struggling with money. And
Yeah, and the perception is that it was like all rock and roll. But I tell you what, I can't even bother to get on planes anymore. Like I just don't like traveling now. I asked my wife, she's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I go to Cornwall or something." Do you know? But no, it was good times. It was good times. Yeah.
Brilliant. And do you think reading has made you be more successful?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Like the key cornerstone of everything, I think.
I agree. Just knowledge. It doesn't necessarily have to be reading these days, but consuming knowledge with different perspectives, not necessarily the things that you believe in. Read things or listen to things that you don't believe in, so you can shape your kind of wider perspective of the world.
Yeah, I think there's like the world's the same place for absolutely everyone. You know, but the map of it changes depending on what you see. You know, there's opportunity everywhere, but unless you've got the education to be able to spot the opportunity, you're just never going to see it. So the more you can kind of learn, the more you can spot, oh, there's a little opportunity over there and there's something over here, which if you hadn't started reading. So it's just education.
Definitely. And books aren't expensive, are they? They're free. Libraries, I mean, libraries are closing down. It says the state of the world sometimes, the fact that libraries are closing down left, right and centre. And obviously people consume information
YouTube
in different ways, but still, you know.
Sad though.
Yeah, they're finding, you know, I heard a quote on social media the other day that it's almost the junk food of the information era.
Right.
And it so is. And so many people are not only eating junk food, but consuming junk food in their mind. And I'm not sure what it's going to turn out to be.
It was this, you know, like back in the day, everyone would go to a library and you have to read the entire book, right, or whatever, or the entire 10 books, or the half the library, or whatever it was to learn. And then Google came along, and then you could Google a thing, and it would give you the top 10 things that all successful people do, or 10 books or whatever, and then you might be able to get a synopsis of that. And now AI, everyone goes into ChatGPT and types in a question. AI goes and scans all of those books and gives you one answer. Do you know, like, so all of a sudden we've got like exceptionally lazy when it comes to understanding like where it all comes from. And is that going to be a good or a bad thing? When it comes down to it, you know?
I don't know. I always liken it to the knowledge for cab drivers or taxi drivers, where parts of our brain, or they have exceptionally strong parts of their brain, and they're all wired, all the neurons, they've got so many more neurons compared to the normal average brain. And, you know, now I can't even navigate my way around a town I've lived in all my life.
Google Maps will get you anywhere.
I mean, I am exceptionally bad, but how many books would you say you read in a year?
Oh, now not as... I actually listen now, Audible, because having kids and...
Yes, do a lot of driving, I'd imagine.
So there's a lot of time. I probably do, I don't know, 15, 20 hours of driving a week or something like that. So, you know, you try and get through stuff there. I actually kind of made a concerted effort a couple of years ago to stop listening to books for a little while, you know, just try and like not be, you know, whatever.
Yes.
But I would say now I probably get through, I don't know, comfortably 10, 15 books in a year. I think back when I was 26 and it was like one a week. You know, like I was really trying really, really, really hard to go for it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Don't ask me what they all were there, because I won't be able to remember what they are. There's key ones I would definitely remember. But so less now, but I'm nowhere near as much like self-development. A lot of my stuff when I first started reading was self-development. And when you start reading the 50th self-development book and you realise it says exactly the same thing as the second one.
Totally.
You know,
just in a different way.
And you can actually get caught up in that. Like,
yes.
You know, it's like a little thing that you can kind of get up trying to fix yourself all the time, when actually there's nothing really there to be fixed. You just keep going, you know.
I totally agree. I prefer the more spiritual side of self-development, which can be equally applied to business. And that's like, I'm listening to Alan Watts at the minute, who you recommended to me.
Yeah, great.
Amazing. It's super deep. And, you know, you sometimes have to, this is the thing with listening and driving. Sometimes if you're going through a complicated patch of road, you have to almost listen back when it's quiet, because it is quite intense.
Fascinating guy, Alan Watts, as well, when you go do some research into it.
Okay.
Really interesting guy.
I'll do a bit more. If you had to name one book that perhaps has been the most important to you so far, what would it be?
Can I have two?
Yes, you can.
Eckhart Tolle's Power Renown is up there for me. Like I've spoken about.
I've listened to that about 3 times during the most darkest times I've experienced.
Well, I was the same. I was the same. I might be 3,000 times. Genuinely now, like it would be, because there's a couple of chapters in that book that I would literally fall asleep to every night. You know,
same. It helped me fall asleep.
Chapter 2 and chapter 6 of that book I would listen to just on repeat, on repeat. And then I must have listened to the thing cover to cover, when you listen to it, I suppose that works.
I know what you mean.
That. And then there's a book where the title might trigger some people sort of thing, but it's a book called The Science of Getting Rich, and it was written in like 1890 something or other by a guy called Wallace D. Wattles.
Okay.
And it's a not a long book. It's a very, very short book, and actually hasn't maybe stood the test of time because it uses the word he and it's all, you know, but if you can see past all that,
yes,
and actually listen to what he's really saying in the whole thing, that you can't take anything bad from what's written in that book. And it's a really, 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 because Science of Getting Rich, it's not just about money, do you know, there's a whole other bit there around the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fascinating book if you ever get a chance to read or listen to that.
I will look into that one as well. Is it similar to Think and Grow Rich?
Yeah, similar-ish. That's another very good book as well. Yeah. That's probably 6 or 7 times for me. I maybe think.
Yeah, I've read that a good few. Usually whenever I've had a really a disappointing time in business, I reread it.
Yeah, similar. Not quite as ethereal, like a little bit more scientific almost, like hence the titles kind of say Science of Getting Rich, you know, like it's very much like what sort of things can you be doing consistently over and over again, which even if you're the most unlucky person on the planet, given a long enough time frame, you can't not succeed. Do you know, like what are the things that you just have to be doing all the time? And I think getting it down to like the brass tacks like that, and just like as long as you're doing this thing and just doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it.
Oh, totally.
You know, like that
chop wood and carry water. There's this meditation guy, I can't remember his name. Corey Mascara. And he just says the basics, essentially getting on with your day, even through the worst, chop wood, carry water. And obviously we don't do that anymore, but you know, what are the basics? Just getting started, just keeping that momentum going, even if you don't feel like it. And you'd be surprised over time, that compounding effect of just that daily momentum.
Yeah, and you don't actually have to chop millions of bits of wood in a day and carry millions of buckets of water. You just have to carry a little bit of wood, chop a little bit of wood, carry a little bit of water every day. You don't have to burn yourself to the ground every day doing it. And I think there's a bit of a falsity in most of stuff that you see on social media about running a business or entrepreneurism or whatever the thing is now, that you need a graph, you know, like that's not
people burn out.
Yeah, it's not a healthy thing. You can trust me.
I've been there.
Yeah, not healthy, not sustainable.
Yeah, and you're almost inspired by that in the first place, but then it's like you say, it's not sustainable.
And it's a badge of honour. And you know, you kind of wear this, you know, I've got loads to do. And it's like, being busy isn't successful.
No.
You know, like being busy is like just being busy.
Yeah, and it's not a good route to being successful either. No. You know, don't get me wrong, sometimes you can't help it. And I do enjoy being busy, but it's kind of having that concerted, smart thinking and effort.
Especially if the being busy bit is the thing that made you succeed, that basically means that you're going to have to continue to being busy to stay successful.
Yeah, totally. You know, I do. I've been there as well.
Like long run, it's just not.
Yes. Yeah, I've been successful, but burning myself out in the process of it, or in my terms successful, which wasn't sustainable, which wasn't successful. And then it's like, right, back to drawing board. How can I get to this stage without being so busy? It's a really interesting dynamic, and busyness is rewarded in today's society. And everyone says they're busy, you know, because no one has that much perspective. No. So, you know, you're always, because I think as a human, you do always try and be productive.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. And you're right. I mean, how things, me and myself coming backwards, it seems to be like you know, like everyone said, but then really that's not it.
I think you feel you're judged. If we met up and you're like, how's it been? I was just, I've just been doing nothing, you know.
This morning,
you know, I'd feel lazy. I think it's that, again, motivation away from laziness. Particularly as a business person, but then actually that's true success. You know, if you talk about financial freedom, I think it's the freedom to do whatever you want with your own time. I think that's kind of that would be one of my versions of success. Which obviously you need an element of financial freedom for that.
But then you start asking yourself the question: how much financial freedom do you actually need to have that freedom of time? Because it's not £10 million in the bank.
No,
you don't need it. You don't need that. You know, like it's way less than that. And then all of a sudden you start reverse engineering it, and you can get there quite quick.
Definitely, but often we're so motivated by keeping up with the Joneses, and you know, seeing again all these inspirational things that we want and need to have, which makes it harder to achieve that.
But it comes back to that. It's like an ongoing dichotomy, isn't it? Like is like being happy in the moment and being happy with where you are and everything that you're doing, but then at the same time wanting something better. But then that kind of means you're not quite happy in the moment, you know. And
yes, but accepting that that's the way it's always going to be.
Yeah.
I think acceptance is important in the journey towards success as well. I love chat like this. I love deep chat. Okay, so what do you believe are most people's common barrier to success?
I think like it's the education thing that ultimately goes back to, do you know, like you look at you look at the world, like everything around you was created by people that were no more intelligent than you and I. You know, the chair you're sitting on, the microphone in front of us, or whatever. Like the people, they weren't like 250 IQ. You know, like they were just the same as you and I, really. Do you know? But
I couldn't make a microphone,
and I wouldn't want to. No. I wouldn't want to learn how either. Do you know? But like, you know, so it's the education part of it. Really is the key piece for me. Do you know, like that's everyone's barrier to everything. And I feel like a lot of the time, you know, the agency side of things, you know, we work with people. Like we sell, essentially, like if you break it down to the thing, you're selling people's time for money. Do you know, like that's really what you're doing.
Yeah.
So your job really is to make sure those people are in the best possible place they could possibly be. They're really happy, they've got everything they need, but they're growing. And there's so often when you're trying to communicate a message to someone in a team like that, that is a positive message in your head, you know, like you're saying, you know, you can do this thing, you can push yourself, you can learn this new thing or whatever. And actually so often it's received in a negative, like, oh, he's telling me I'm not good enough. It's like, no, I'm actually, because I've got my back here. Like, I wouldn't be asking you to do this thing if I didn't think you could, you know, like I back you. So I feel like there's this bit where I think a lot of people are struggling with like their own self-worth and where they can get to and all that kind of stuff, which actually then becomes a complete shutter down on learning anything new, on trying, you know, it's that fear of failure piece, you know. So it's the education, but then also it's the attitude towards learning, I think, a little bit.
Which I guess is an education.
Which goes back to education a bit,
definitely that mental and mindset education. Whenever I kind of haven't achieved what I've wanted, you know, mindset's played a big part in that, and that lack of belief. I'd agree with that. You mentioned that you've got a second baby on the way. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Obviously, you haven't found it easy, the whole kind of pregnancy, the fertility journey. How hard has that been for you?
Yeah, no, it wasn't fun. I checked with my wife to have permission to be actually on this stuff. No, I mean, so Archie, our first was IVF. You know, we started trying a long time ago. And had a really tough time with it. And you know, you know, from a bloke side of it, the indignation of what a man has to do in an IVF journey is like nothing in comparison to what a woman has to go through. You know, but you know, you do have to sit there and watch your wife go through it or your partner go through it, or like it wasn't not easy. Like let alone all the disappointment over the years, but yeah. So Archie was IVF. He was, you know, we were fortunate enough to get 5 embryos through our round of IVF, which was kindly paid for by the NHS. And he was the first one, worked first time, and you know, and he's the coolest little thing ever now. Like, daddy stack the wood and mow the lawn and all that kind of stuff. Always wants to be doing jobs. Must get that from his
Brilliant.
Mom. Yeah, must get that from his mum. And then, you know, we kind of waited a couple of years and we had 4 in the freezer, so to speak. And then all 4 failed, do you know, 4 effective miscarriages really over the course of a year, which was not fun. And then we were kind of getting into the beginning of this year and Fern was adamant we were going back to IVF. I didn't really have the heart to have the conversation with her over Christmas time, sort of thing. Got into January, and I don't know if I really want to do this. She put a good sales pitch on it, and we decided to go back in again. And we actually had an invoice sat there, you know, because NHS wasn't going to kindly pay for a second go, sort of thing, you know. And then I woke up one morning to being pregnant, naturally. So the whole thing's kind of worked out quite well in the end, really, to be honest with you, you know.
I find
it's a journey.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a journey, and one that I've been on as well. And it's just incredible how you go through all of that. And then it didn't happen. It happened for me the first time where I fell pregnant naturally, despite kind of starting everything off and trying for 3 years and about to start IVF. But you hear it so often where then suddenly you fall pregnant naturally.
Yeah. I mean, who knows what goes into all this kind of stuff? Because it is such a common story now. Like, you know, and maybe it's that kind of like cacophony thing where because you're in it, you speak to other people and people feel more comfortable. So you hear more about it and you bump into more people that have done it. And so it's hard for me to say, but it seems such a common thing now.
Yes,
it seems
I believe so.
But I wonder how much of it is psychosomatic. Do you know, like, I wonder how much of it is, you know, with Fern, for example, I just thought we were just trying, and you know, it just is what it is, and maybe taking a bit longer than I was thinking it was going to take, but I was just, you know, whatever. And then I can't even remember what Fern said one day, and I was like, oh, this is a thing now. This is like, in your head, this is a thing. Whereas for me, it was just a thing, whereas for her, it was a thing.
Oh, yes.
And then all of a sudden, it was like, whatever. So, I mean, you'd have to ask her, but like, we were in this window, you know, where we decided we were going to go for IVF again, and we kind of knew that we were going to go into it. So it's kind of like the pressure was off almost a little bit, and then all of a sudden, do you know? And I don't know. Who knows? You know?
Yeah, I don't know. And you can certainly never say that, oh, it's all in your head, or it's a bit psychosomatic to someone going through it, because if someone tried to, because, you know, you have these conversations with yourself as a woman, you know. And I almost kind of relied on that for my second. I thought, oh, well, we'll book an IVF appointment because last time. And then I was like, oh, it hasn't happened. So I kind of almost double bluffed myself, but it didn't work. I just think there's so much that goes into it that we perhaps don't even know, and even like more like all the chemicals that's used today affecting children. I genuinely believe that, I know you've said, and I think obviously we do talk about it more to people because we've been through it, but I do think that fertility rates are dropping. It's interesting. I think there's so much that we don't know about, and the fact that we don't refuse to look into it until 3 miscarriages down the line in this country, whereas other countries, my sister-in-law had one in Spain and they were instantly investigating.
Really?
And you know, I get it. The NHS is struggling, but it's
what's so fascinating, you know, as a, you know, typical bloke who just kind of, you know, walks around like a thinking nothing of it, you know, like is you know, just seeing that the thing from a female perspective, like in a lot of the ways, is I now have like so much more like consciousness and respect for like when it's going through and when it's hard, you know, like and how, you know, girls feel when somebody else gets pregnant and they haven't been able to, and like what that actually feels, you know, all that kind of stuff is just really tough, like really, really, really tough. And as a bloke, you're like, come on, just ignore it and get, you know. But it's so easy
something within you as a woman.
It's so easy to say that for me when I'm sat over this side and I've done my bit almost, you know, like it's tough. It's a really brutal thing, and you know, lots of love to everyone going through it all.
Totally, and we're the lucky ones. You know, you do hear of harrowing tales where people have tried for years and years and it hasn't happened. And it is lovely to hear your perspective as a man on how it is for a woman as well.
I mean, it's not easy for the blokes because,
no.
I mean, it was however many years or whatever, you know, I feel like I'm 5-6 years behind where I should be on that side of things almost, you know, not through choice, just through circumstance, you know.
Yeah, and actually, you know, some people would say, you know, you can try again, and obviously you can, but the way I would look at it in my tormented little brain at the time was that, well, that's another year of my life. I won't see my child growing up. You know, yes, it did happen. It happened probably in the whole journey, I think 6 years later than I had in my mind. But so
it's also the other end though, the 6 years at the other end that you won't see as well. Almost, you know, like,
exactly.
Which is like a weird thought to be having.
If say you miss out on grandchildren because you didn't.
It's such a weird thing, and so all of a sudden, and you don't have these conversations because the last thing I want to do is pile more pressure on it or whatever, you know. But it's certainly like that's us at the end of the whole journey now. Like when number 2 comes up, we are done. You know, like, and I'm really happy about that. You know, it's so nice because you've got that's us, right? Let's go.
I felt a massive pressure off, not until she was born, because I was so anxious all the way through, having been what I had. But and then you always worry when they're around. But literally, I remember just like weight off my shoulders lifting. and then faced my next challenge. But, that's another story. But again, that's life as well. There's always something around the corner. And if there's not, be grateful and just keep, again, cracking on. How's having a child changed you?
Oh, I'm a right softie now. The only, as a proud Scotsman, the only film I ever cried at was Braveheart growing up. That's the only film. I don't think I even really probably cried at that, to be honest. All of a sudden, I'm a right softie. Like, I cry at films and stuff now. I was a father when Fern and I got married. I couldn't get through my bloody speech at the wedding. I was just so I've turned into a right softie now. It's all a new learning journey or whatever, but I'm a very laid back personality for most people that know me. Like, I just, I'm pretty much, I'm the only emotion I feel ever is hungry. I don't really get too much else these days, and it's so interesting, like watching a little person kind of like feel emotions for the first time and feel upset and not get an ET yogurt and have a head off about it.
Yes.
It's so fascinating, the whole thing. But I don't work as late. Like, I'd work in the office till 9, 10 o'clock at night, no trouble. Like, I'll go and pick Archie up at 4:45 now.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't start working again, because you have to, but you've definitely got 2-3 hours with him before he goes to bed or whatever. So that changes a bit. I'm getting really bored of watching men cut lawns on TV, YouTube, because that seems to be all that.
There's worse things.
or Coco Melon or whatever.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. So my TV choices have changed a bit.
Yeah, my Spotify playlist.
But I mean, I'm really fortunate in the fact that, like, Fern's just, my wife's just an absolute unbelievable human being. Like, she is the boss. She is the CEO of home. I check in on absolutely everything. So she runs the show. So I've still managed to, like, take care of my golf addiction on a Saturday morning and all that kind of stuff. So I'll be interested to see what it looks like when we've got 2.
Yes, yeah.
From what I'm told, all things change, but
they do a bit, but a lot of it again is mindset.
Yeah.
It is there's challenges.
Yeah.
But again, you wouldn't change it, and I'm sure you fought hard for that privilege.
Yeah.
And the dynamic when you see them loving and kissing each other, it's just beautiful. Yeah, it fills my heart with joy.
I bet. Can't wait. Archie's now asking for a sister.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to sell him on, but we haven't found out.
Okay.
I was trying to sell him on a brother the other day, just in case he gets a brother, and said, like, that will also be a cool sort of thing. We didn't find out, but Fern put the 12-week scan to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT said it's a girl. So
okay, well, it must be.
Must be a girl.
Brilliant. And if you could change the world by doing one thing to make it better for when your children grow up, what would you do? What would you change?
The world. God, that's a real stopper of a question.
Yeah, it's the final one.
Yeah, it's a real stopper of a question, because the immediate answer is not actually all that much. In all honesty,
yeah, that's nice.
Like it's it wouldn't be as fun if it wasn't challenging. Like, the best analogy I ever heard for that is, you used to play computer games when you were younger or whatever. You used to play Colin McRae Rally. I don't know if you ever played that.
I didn't play that one. That might shock you.
I haven't played a computer game in a decade now, whatever. You used to play Colin McRae Rally, and you could set the difficulty level on Colin McRae Rally. And so you could pick how hard it was. And picking the easiest settings is just boring, because you just win all the time. And picking the hardest of hard, like insane level, is also not fun, because you just get all the time. So what you end up doing is you choose a level where you lose, win, lose, win, and you get to pick that difficulty level, right? Like, you can pick anything you want. You can pick and just win every single time. That's not actually very fun. Like, you need the losses to make the win feel
more
worth
special.
It.
Yeah, you're right, but that's you choosing. Some people would prefer to choose different things.
100%. Yeah, and someone might just pick the easy level or whatever. Yeah, but
it's an interesting analogy for life, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So there's a bit for me there. What would I change? Well, probably not all that much, because it needs to be challenged for it to be fun for me. I just the world, when it comes to like politics and things like that, I would like to see that get a little bit, I don't know,
more
nicer.
real.
Yeah. And I would love to see, like, the monetary system kind of being solved, and it's not have, like, ridiculous amounts of inflation, cost of living crisis left, right, and centre, and you know, living wages not keeping up, and all that kind of stuff. Like that would be nice to be solved, but I don't know if that's going to be done before Archie's an adult. To be honest,
Yeah,
we'll have to wait and see.
It's a very defeatist attitude, Doug.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Hopefully they'll figure it out.
Yeah, but no, I love that analogy. It's almost life is you pick the level you want to play at.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. And if you want to play the hard level, you get to go and pick the hard level. And if you want to play the easy level, you can literally go and pick the easiest level and play at that.
And it doesn't matter as long as you're happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And if you get bored at the easy level, you can always crank the level up a little bit.
Upgrade, yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. Right, Doug, we're on to our top 10, which is what we end with. Okay, so I forgot the 10 questions, so I'm using my phone for this bit. So, Doug, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, you now have to rate yourself. It's kind of a quick fire round as well. At how good looking are you?
That's a dreadful question. What's a complete cop-out number? Like 6? 5?
A lot of people say 6.
Yeah, 6 has got to be the big cop-out. I don't know. Yeah. Depends on whether or not you've had a stressful week or something, but somewhere in a 6 or something like that. But not massively high, but not too high.
Okay, cop out. being funny.
Every year we have the Maitland Awards or whatever, and I never win the funniest person. Jimmy always wins it.
Okay.
So every year I spend a lot of time trying to think of, like, come up with funny jokes and tell them in the office, and every year I still don't win the funniest. But I think I'm bloody funny. Yeah. Turns out explaining why your jokes are funny isn't funny, though.
No, I know. And trying too hard as well.
Yeah, probably. So I'm going to cop out, but I'm going to go a little bit higher. I'm going to go 7.
Okay. How good at cooking are you?
If you measure me against, like, James Close, for example, building his restaurant up at Rockcliffe at the moment, a 3. But, like, on your average kind of, like, day-to-day cook, like, I love cooking. It's one of my favourite things to do. Bottle of wine, get some music on, chef something up. I would say 8.
Oh, lovely. Are you doing marketing for Rockcliffe, by the way? Noticed the little plug.
No, I just feel like I might get a bit of discount off my next membership.
The food? Yeah. Fair enough. How good at singing are you?
Dreadful. I play guitar. I learned self-taught guitarist or whatever, so I can bosh a few tunes out on the guitar. But my singing voice is awful too.
Okay. Yeah. Drinking alcohol.
If drinking alcohol is the ability to consume lots and keep your wits about you, then I'm a 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, years of practice, years and years and years of practice. But no, it's very hard for me to ever really kind of get drunk these days. But no, I can drink a lot, but I do try and not these days. It's gone the other way now.
Must be unhealthy, but then maybe your body's more tolerant to it, so it's not as unhealthy.
Yeah, I think so. But then if you got it, I think it's either a 10 because you're really good at it, or a 1 because you can do so much of it. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I can't decide what's worse because I'm a real lightweight. Just 1 can affect me, especially if I've had such a busy day. Yeah. But then it's obviously cheaper. Yeah.
But actually, I mean, like, I'm almost jealous of you, sort of thing. But then, like, I don't know, you go to a social event, wedding, or whatever. You know, it's like,
oh yeah, then I'm a mess.
Yeah. See, whereas I'm like still fine at the end of the night.
Yeah, I'm an absolute liability. Yeah. Okay, raising children.
I think time will tell on that. I'm always asking, am I a good dad? You know, to my wife and all that kind of stuff. So, and she always says yes. So, and Archie seems to be a happy person.
Yeah.
So 2.5 years in, so far so good.
Yeah.
But ask me again in another 15.5 years time or whatever.
Yeah, apparently in the teenage years they tell you themselves, they review you, and it's never good. Being a friend.
Yeah, I'd like to think I'm a good friend. I'd like to think I'm the person that if you're in the mire or whatever, I'm one of the first people you pick up the phone to or whatever. So I'd like to give myself an 8 or a 9 on that.
Yeah. You've always been like that with me, and I know we're kind of like business friends rather than but you've always been like, just call me if you need anything, and even just calling to check in, which I do really appreciate. I think that's so lovely.
Yeah, well, I just think the value of a coffee and a catch up, like,
and it matters so much to someone on the receiving end.
Yeah. If you just get like an hour's worth of breather, and it's like, I felt like that before, or whatever. Do you know, it just helps tons. Do you know?
I agree. Intelligence.
I don't know. In some aspects, like, I'd rate myself quite highly. But like dyslexia and things like that, like I remember things dreadfully, like names and faces. I'm just awful for, you know, like really bad for. But I think in my ability, like, I'm really good at being able to, like, piecing together from very little information. I don't need a full skit of everything to be able to get a really good picture of what's going on. I feel like I'm copping out on all of these, saying 6, 7, 8, but I'm going to go 8 on that.
I do agree on intelligence. There's so many dimensions, and you see it, I think, in your kids, especially when you have 2, that they're so intelligent in different ways. And I think that as humans, we're all intelligent, but just in different ways. Kindness. Yeah.
I think when you've been through a lot of stuff yourself, I think. I think like kindness is one of those things that you end up really valuing. So, treat others in the way you'd wish to be treated and all the rest of that kind of stuff. But kindness isn't always just being nice to someone, though, is it? No. Kindness a lot of the time is actually being quite tough with someone.
I agree.
But I would say I've probably got the courage to try and do that. So I'm going to go 9.
Yes, a good mix of kindness and courage, I think, is needed. Courage to be kind long term, rather than just that instant gratification for what they want to hear. Yeah. And finally, Doug, how good at sex are you?
10.
That's another cop-out question.
2s and 10s all over the place. I think it depends on the time of day.
Brilliant. Thanks, Doug. You've been amazing.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me on.